Sure. So, Mattereum has had a really good year so far. We've been out in the woods for a long time because basically, we kind of thought it was going to be a 4 or 5 year march from 2017 when we started the company to seeing the kind of overhaul you've seen in crypto regulation in the last year. Plus, there was a kind of pandemic in the middle. So, I kind of feel like we've done like 4 or 5 years of progress over about 8 or 9 years of company. But this year, things really changed, partly because of the new kind of regulatory stuff coming out of the SEC, partly just because there's been a maturation of the space and the kind of TradFi DeFi line is dissolving. So we just got our first real revenue this year doing a large scale tokenization analysis for a multi-billion-dollar real estate investment group. And that has revealed a couple of shockingly obvious with hindsight truths about real estate tokenization and where it's going to work and where it's not going to work. Very happy with that. And we are now talking to a very, very substantial world government about foreign direct investment tokenization. And it's like, oh yeah, this is all the stuff we're geared up for doing. Yeah, did you say an entire economy at a time? Yeah, you betcha. This is how you do it. The regulatory, the liability, the partnership strategy, all the stuff you have to do in terms of technology risk, all that kind of really heavyweight stuff that we put the time into designing over the years. We're finally at the point where the players coming to the table are big enough that the deep analysis and the leverage that comes from having done the deep analysis comes to the fore. It's just like these are the times for which we were made. Little bit of a shame that the global economy is doing such a horrible job of burning itself to the ground. A little bit worried about the AI bubble, a little bit worried about the dollar. There's a lot of pressure to figure out how to actually save the global economy using these new tools. Could we tokenize 20-30% of the world's real estate and use it as a backing for currencies instead of gold, instead of Bitcoin, instead of fiat? It's kind of something we've done some work on. I posted a link in the chat a little earlier. So it's kind of, I almost feel like we're entering the point where you can just begin to see the idea that crypto fiat was only the beginning. Tokenization means that you could go from having one asset class that you can use like money to being able to use every asset class like money. And clearly that gives you a much more stable, much more diversified pool of money-like instruments than the current situation that we have right now, where the only thing you can use as money is the one thing that the government calls money. And so I just want to kind of frame this as like, here comes everything. We are at the beginning of the point where everything is turned into cash.